Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is a newly crowned IFBB Pro. Today's guest is Austin Connelly. Austin, welcome back to the podcast, my man.
Thank you for having me. My first podcast a few months ago, now back on another one. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Pretty excited. I told you I was going to go get my pro card. I also told you I was going to win the show. We didn't win it, but we went there. We had an awesome time. I did earn my pro card there, and like I told you before, we're going right back to work. So thank you.
You're welcome, man. I really appreciate you taking a little time to chat with us. Now, before we get into Austin's conversation, those of you who are listening to the podcast or watching it, if you want to hear kind of the normal Behind the Muscle podcast episode with Austin, we had an episode back in January. It's episode 107. So if you want to get his full story, scroll back, episode 107, you'll get the full story, kind of full background of Austin. Today, we're just going to catch up in terms of USAs and kind of what the future holds for Austin. So Austin, why don't you start off by telling us now, if I remember correctly, you took all of 2021 off to kind of grow and to prepare to compete this year. How did that off season or that entire year off go? And then what was your guys' decision, you and Matt's decision, in terms of competing this year at the USAs?
So we had already talked that we was going to take the year off. We'd already talked that we were going to do USAs back in July. That was the plan. So we stuck to our guns. I took the year off. Like I told you, we opened a gym. I started a new career, so it was perfect timing for me to take time off. I've never had a year off. But, man, honestly, taking that year off, and I'll say this, I'm going to be honest with everybody on here. It wasn't 110%. And when I say that, it's because there was times that, I got sick. COVID was around. There was times that work was crazy that I missed a meal. There was times that I would replace a meal. But now being a new pro, that can't happen. And that's not going to happen. I told myself months ago when I said, I'm going to earn my pro card at this show. I'm not taking my family to Vegas and not coming home with a pro card. I told myself then that I wasn't going to miss a meal, that it was going to be full-time bodybuilding. Obviously, I still have my career. I'm working on getting my online coaching business built up more. I got a few things lined out where, everything has to be in a row where you can say, okay, I'm going to walk away from my career and become a full-time bodybuilder. I've set myself up to have a good job where I can afford to compete and still support my family. But going back to the show, like I said, man, we took the year off. As far as the scale goes from 2020 to 20, so I did 2020 Nationals, one spot away from earning my pro card. 2020, one spot away at USA from earning my pro card. I was around 218, 220 there. We weighed in at like 222. So what I want people to understand is, when you get on that scale, don't let that mess with your head. And it never did, because I'd seen my physique change completely. From 2020 to this year's show, every picture, I didn't compare every picture, but every picture I took, every video I sent them out, I was like, man, this is nuts. Like, we're really bringing a whole nother look. That scale is just a scale for him to go by. Those pictures are what you can go by and your coach goes by to see where you're at. And I would send Matt pictures, several times of what I looked like before. And you can go back to look at nationals. You can go back, scroll down on my Instagram. My whole physique changed overall. There was more leg development. There was more lat development, overall size development. And then, of course, my condition was better now. That was one thing that held me back in the previous years, was conditioning. And it wasn't so much me cheating on a plan, because I would never cheat on a diet. It wasn't. And it wasn't that I wasn't being pushed hard enough, because, there was times where I was doing two hours of cardio, sometimes more, towards the leading into nationals and USAs, when I was with AJ Sims. And we did a great job. We brought a great package of nationals, brought a great package of USAs, did North Americans, did USAs before that. I was always in the top call out, always real close. Like I said, 2020, one spot away. So leading into USAs this year, having that off season with Matt, having it a lot more structured, I would say I was 90-10. And this year now, leading into it, like I said, man, I was right back on prep for my pro debut, which we can talk a little bit about that. We're going to take some time off and grow. But so, yeah, the decision was already USAs. The time that I spent with Matt for that whole year, the changes we made in the off season, into prep, it was easy. You know, that's the crazy part about it. Yes, in the off season we were pushing food, not too crazily high. I was digesting everything, but it's just repetitive, and it gets old, it gets boring. But that's just bodybuilding. Going into prep ran smooth. We didn't have any issues. I didn't get hurt. No digestive issues, no health issues, none of that. Matt's a big stickler on making sure everything's done right. You know, whether as far as health, training, the food, digestion wise. I mean, he is he's a great coach, man. And I've already told Matt, this is it, man. This is who I'm riding it out with. I don't need to change anybody. 1 year, I already know that this is my coach, and we're going to do big things together. Leading into USA's, and I've already told Matt, I made a post about it, you know, to thank him for everything he did flying out to Vegas. He had a few other clients in the show. You know, Matt also, it was his son's birthday that weekend. For him to take that time to come up to USA's, not a lot of coaches or anybody would do that. So I just want to give a big shout out to Matt for that. Also, peak week was it was not stressful at all. It was relaxed. It was awesome. I mean, everything about it, you know, even though I got my pro card, like, yeah, that's just, you know, that's a cherry on pie, you know, but everything about this past weekend was freaking awesome.
All right. So I want to ask you something. You know, you said the changes that you had over this last year were significant. Now, do you kind of credit that to maybe taking your off season more serious than years past? And if so, I want you to kind of expound on that just for a minute, Austin, because I think people just realize, or a lot of people think like, well, you know, 12 weeks out, I'm going to start prepping for a competition. Well, it's like, hey, no, the prep begins during the off season. It starts a year, maybe even 2 years beforehand. So just talk about how important this past off season was for you specifically.
I mean, and it's crucial, man. I mean, this is bodybuilding. This is when you get better in that off season. It's not, I need to start prep at 20 weeks or 12 weeks or 15 weeks, because you're going to look pretty much how if you're with the same coach or whatever the case might be, you're probably not going to get any better than you were the previous year. I think there is flexibility in diets when it comes to family events and stuff, but those things, that's life. You want those, you know what I mean? You have to feel comfortable in prep, but at the same time, you got to get your meals in, you got to get your training in. So yes, my off season, you know, the 6 to 8 months we spent in off season, that was crucial for me. I wouldn't have made those changes that I did this year if I wouldn't have had that off season. Matt wrote out my workout plan in July, and up until probably 3 or 4 weeks, I was still doing the same workout. So that's another thing. Everybody thinks you got to change your workout, this and that. Find what works for you and stick with it and get better at it. And as far as the diet goes, there's not a whole lot of diet changes that's going to take place. If you're doing a long off season, yes, there might be times where you can do like a mini cut or something like that to bring your body fat down, bring your digestive system back, bring that insulin sensitivity back. Excuse me. But at the same time, you got to have that off season, and it has to be structured just like prep. And that's exactly what I started Monday. I knew I was flying home Monday. I literally only ate 4 cheat meals since I got off stage, and I didn't finish any of those. So when I got back home, when I started flying home Monday, I already had all my meals prepped. And that's the thing. You have to treat your rebound phase, which I'm in now, and your off season just like prep. If you can stay in a prep mindset and keep that hunger there and do your same normal routine, enjoy that time with your family after the show. Absolutely. Your friends and your family, those people are there for you. Enjoy that time with them Saturday and Sunday. But when it comes back to Monday, you got to get right back on the grind if you want to get better. And that's if you turn pro, or if you're at an amateur show, or even, you know, however the prep goes, wherever you're at, you have to take these different timings of prep and bodybuilding serious. It's not just prep and that's it. And there's so many people that just can't do it. And they wonder why didn't I get better? Or why didn't I turn pro? Or why didn't I win that show? It takes time. You know what I mean? And I love it. You know, I've never, when I started with Matt, is when I really got back into loving the sport. But like going into this prep, it was my love started coming back even more, because like the year that I took off, I was going to do nationals in 2020, but I had so much going on and my head wasn't all the way in it. So it was a good time for me to pull back and do an off season. And now I've literally fell in love with bodybuilding and the whole process like I did when I was 15 years old.
Love it, man. Now, let's talk a little bit about, you said this prep went really smooth. Was there anything, were there any speed bumps? Were there any hitches within this prep that you wouldn't mind talking about? Or was it really just 100% perfect, so to speak?
It was literally from the time we said, okay, prep started. Now, before that, my weight got up to like 265 and we held 265, which I'd never been 265 before. Definitely not that lean or ever 265. And I caught COVID, got real sick for a week. It was probably like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks before I started prep. So my weight dropped down to around 255. It hung around 255, 260, and then we kind of started into prep. So that was only the speed bump. There wasn't no injuries. There wasn't no, oh man, I missed this or I missed this. Literally, whatever Matt sent me, I followed to the exact T. Like, you know, you'll hear people, you'll see people talk about cardio this, cardio that, and oh, I'm gonna take this 30 seconds. I don't need to do this 30 seconds. No, I literally did it until I got past that next second. If he told me 35 minutes, I did 35 minutes in 1 second. So that's just what I do.
Cool. All right. So why don't you lead us into Friday, which was prejudging for USA's. Just talk about your mindset, talk about, just kind of where your head was at. I know you shot some content. I was just watching a little bit of the video and some of the other videos you shot leading in, which thank you for doing that. That's kind of cool for all of us just to see behind the scenes, but prejudging, talk about that mindset, where your head was at. Obviously in the first call out when prejudging was over, what were you feeling? Just touch on that for a minute, Austin, please.
All right. So Friday, of course, was prejudging. Saturday was finals. So Friday, Matt looks at you for every meal. Matt flew in on a Wednesday, I think. Wednesday or Thursday. Man, everything kind of ran together. I was diet brain. But anyways, he flew in 1 or 2 days before the show. I think it was Wednesday. And so he basically checks on you after every meal. He wants to look at you. He wants to know your weight, which that's what a coach is supposed to do. So then leading into Friday, we knew we were bringing a good package. I was getting better and better, best I've ever been, obviously. I think my weight the lowest it got was like 219, 220, just in those last few days. And it was probably I weighed in at like 222. So it was probably 218, 219 probably 219, 220 on stage. Because after prejudging, I came back to the room and I weighed 219. So yeah, man, the way Friday rolled, man, it was crazy. I took that year off, so I was kind of a little nervous getting on stage, but like the stage is mine. Like my stage performance, I'll pat myself on the back because I love it. If anybody's ever seen my videos on stage, which I will be posting my routine and some stuff on my IG page and my YouTube, man, that stage is mine. And I told my family, they didn't know my routine. They know I'm gonna do something on stage, like I'm gonna show out. Matt seen me on stage before. So like when I get on stage, it's a whole switch. It just flips. I almost go tunnel vision. So Friday prejudge, we roll around. I get that first look, the small individual 35 seconds. Matt had seen everybody in a group, and I walked off stage and I went to the corner of the stage and I looked over at Matt and I said, "Come here real fast." And I was like, "Was there anything I need to fix?" And he just looked at me and smiled. He said, "You got this." I gave him a slap on the hand, dude, and I almost got in tears. I had to like control myself. I'm like, there's no way. But it's not over until it's over, So I get up there, I do my thing. We go through the first round. They move some people around. Me and a guy split center. And I've worked my posing just like I do my cardio. We go through different sessions, 2 to 3 sessions a day leading into the show, holding poses for 15 seconds. That is the most important thing that somebody can do when they're getting ready for a show. At 12 to 15 weeks out, you need to be going through rounds of posing to work your condition, know how to pose. And if you don't, hire a posing coach. Alyssa, Classic Queen, she helped me out a ton with my posing. You can always tweak certain things, you know what I mean? I knew how to pose and she didn't change much. We just tried a few things out. And of course, Joey Belt got to Vegas, ran through a session with him. And then Matt just kind of took it from there. And Brett Wilkins as well. Brett was there. He got to see a little bit of my posing. There was a few things that just kind of helped me fire certain things like my hamstrings and glutes a little bit more. So I was very confident going on stage. I had the right people in my corner, of course. We'll go through the first round of comparisons. And I knew the guy to the left of me that I didn't realize if he was split center. I could tell that his posing wasn't where it was supposed to be. And you go back and look at the video. We go through that first round and he's already struggling. Well, we went through another round and I was prepared because at Nationals USA's we posed for 7 to 8 minutes straight. So that's what I was preparing for. I was preparing, we're going to go up there and battle, whether it's in my class or the overall, I'm going to be ready. So going back watching the video and I could see his body language going through that round, I knew I'd already had him beat as far as posing goes. As we went through that second round and he was literally had his hands on his hips. He was like shaking his head. He didn't want to go another round. And when Steve Weinberger, after we went through that first round and he said, all right, guys, spread out and let me see a front double, I knew we was going through it again. And I shook my head and I said, let's do it. I'm ready. And he's over here tired, hands on hips, shaking his head. He was a good guy. He had a great physique. I think he wants to be more classic, but he couldn't get his weight down. Nothing against him. I beat him fair and square. You know what I mean? And that's part of the game. I don't want to sit here and say like he wasn't ready or anything like that. But as far as posing goes, you know, he just, you know, his posing was good as far as like showing his physique. But as far as condition goes, he wasn't having it. And, you know, like I said, when I get on that stage, it's lights out. I'm coming to win, or at least look like a pro on that stage. And that was my mindset. I need to be on the stage and I need to pose like a pro. So perfect. We went through that. We got done with that Friday for prejudging, went back to the room, of course, weighed myself, and then went meal by meal. And the plan was we thought in our mind that we had it. So it's like, okay, the light heavy's he's good and the super heavy's good. I'm pretty sure that both of us agreed that I could beat the light heavy, which I think I did, but don't matter. I knew it was going to be the super heavy. So the plan was to get a little bit tighter, flatten me out a little bit, which is very hard. I think I told you on my last podcast, you know, you can deplete me. We can do a shit ton of cardio, not feed me, and my muscle bellies just don't go flat. So we finally got flat probably Friday afternoon after 2 or 3 meals of pulling some carbs, pulling some water. And then we started kind of carbing up the last 2 meals and figured out, you know, where we needed to be Saturday. We didn't get on stage until like 7:30 p.m. Saturday. So when Matt seen me, he was like, okay, we're in a good spot. Now we flatten you out. I think I got down to like 220 from 219 after eating 3 or 4 meals. So we flattened out pretty good. And then, after that, it was just go do the night show, do my routine. We killed that. And then we went into the overall and, you know, I just went up there and showcased my physique. The guy was good. Old Stu, he was a great bodybuilder, big guy. He does have a good physique. I thought mine was a little bit better. I felt like my condition was a little bit better. I felt like my stage presence was a little bit better, but it was only his first pro qualifier. So for him to be 25 years old to win USA's, that's pretty badass. So I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. And I'm no sore loser, man. If the judges thought he should win, he deserved it and he won. We're all gonna sit there and pick people apart because it's bodybuilding. He was definitely bigger than me. He had more of an overall package more than I had, for sure. I'll give him that. And I hope nothing but the best for him. I know he's going to Tampa this weekend to compete. So good luck to him. We talked after the show and stuff. He's a cool guy, and I hope nothing but the best for him.
For sure. Stuart, I had him on like 1 week or 2 weeks before USA, and super cool guy. So much respect to him. Now, I want to ask you a question, Austin. Okay. You know, when you and Matt kind of knew that you had the cat in the bag, so to speak, after prejudging, you had a very long wait period before, you know, you got back on stage on Saturday. Now, I'm asking you this because this obviously pertains to our generation. Now, you know, with social media and, you know, people reaching out to you, people congratulating before it's officially over, right? How did you handle that? Where was your heart? Where was your mind at in terms of social media, being on it, kind of taking in all that congratulatory before the show was actually over?
honestly, I didn't even get on my phone until Monday. As far as going back to my, DMs and comments, like I posted stuff that I was doing because I want to enjoy that time with my family. We didn't get back to the room and my family was like, oh, you got it. You got it. Me and Matt talked like, hey, this is our show. Let's go win the overall, which that's fine because I believe in Matt. That's my coach. But as far as like getting on social media, like, yeah, I probably could, but I was trying to soak up the moment with everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I really appreciate, and I made a post about it, I appreciate everybody who commented and sent me DMs and sent me text message and messages through my family to get to me. Like, that means the world to me. But at that time, and then even after the show, I wanted to enjoy this whole experience. And it was the best thing I could do, because so many people get caught up in that social media and it can go their head for the best or the worst or whatever. For me, it was like, I'm not reading my DMs. I'm not reading comments. I'm going to make posts about what I'm doing so people can keep up with me. And I'm going to do what we're here to do. We got a job to do. You know what I mean? So I didn't get in twisted with all that.
Cool. Much respect to that. All right. So USA's is over. You got your pro card. I mean, where were you at? Obviously you were ecstatic, but once you took the entire year off last year. When we talked in January, you sat here just like we are right now, straight face, and said, hey, like, I'm going to get my pro card. I'm going to win the USA's. Like, it's all business, right?
That's right.
What was like, really, what was it like? Can you walk us through it a little bit in terms of when the show was over, you got your pro card, you didn't win the overall, but hey, you got your pro card. Like, were you just like over the moon? Like, has it sunk in? Walk us through that for a minute, because most of us will never be at that point.
You know what the best feeling was after USA's? It was getting in that shower and washing that tan off for the last time as an amateur. Getting the tan off is always great. But Luke told me from Iron Rebel, my sponsor, he said, you're about to get the best 1 minute of your life when you take that shower. And I was just like, man, what's he talking about? He said, you'll know. And I got in the shower and I started rinsing off, and it was just like, oh shit, this is it, man. Like, I literally just took 5 minutes to soak it in the shower, rinse off, and just like, holy shit, all this hard work since I was 15 years old. Not that I was trying to turn pro at 15, but the last 4 years, I guess, truly taking bodybuilding serious. When I started with AJ and now being with Matt, like it was surreal. And once again, like, it didn't sink in then. It sunk in that I'm literally rinsing the tan off as a IFBB pro. You know what I mean? So like that was a weird feeling. It was kind of, I don't even know how to explain it. People that have done it and the people in the future that'll do it, you'll know what I mean if you're watching this podcast. After that, yeah, man, I felt, man, I couldn't believe it, because my wife, she's a pro too. And what's really cool is Luke and Alyssa both turned pro at 2018 USA's. And now I turned pro at USA. So it's crazy. And Luke turned pro in the heavyweight division as well, fighting for that overall spot, which, it could have happened either way, but whatever. But, and Luke was there as well. So like the whole weekend was just crazy, man. For him to be there, for Matt to be there, my whole family, like I just soaked it in with them. Me and Matt had already talked a game plan actually before finals of what we're going to do as a pro, and what the game plan is from here on out. And man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I trust Matt more than, I don't know even what to say. Matt's just a real ass dude. He's been in the game for so long that he's been around and coached so many good people. And he knows he's got an eye for this, you know what I mean? And he really loves bodybuilding. He loves helping people. Like I said, we got a game plan and we can talk a little bit about that, but I just wanted to enjoy it with my family. It still hadn't sunk in completely. I know I am, but like I said, it's just Monday hit and I went right back to work, and I hadn't stopped yet. Literally my 4 cheat meals were in Vegas and I didn't even finish them because I was ready to get back on my diet and get back better.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us, you've brought that up a couple of times, 4 cheat meals, haven't finished them, but what was that first bite of a cheat meal off the plan? What was it?
It was horrible. It was Cheesecake Factory. And I love the Cheesecake Factory. And normally I'd get like a pasta dish or something, but in my head, I wanted a burger. And I love going to Mug Shots and getting a breakfast burger. They don't have a breakfast burger. So I messed up and I said, look, I want this. I already had it in my notes too. I'd already typed it out. I want 2 over medium eggs, some bacon, and I brought my own peanut butter and my own jelly because they don't have it. I made the burger. I ate half of it, didn't even eat the fries, and the service was horrible there. It literally took us an hour and a half. But it didn't matter because my whole family was there and I was eating bread and butter while I waited on my food. And then we ordered, before we got the burger, me and Alyssa already knew that we're going to order some Texas egg rolls. So I had like 5 or 6 of those and probably a loaf of bread and a fucking thing of butter. Then I started putting peanut butter on my loaf of bread with jelly. I mean, it was just, I didn't go overboard by no means. My weight shot up because I was dehydrated and stuff like that. I got up to like 245. Now my weight's down to like 237, and we're going to keep on pulling it down until, we get it comfortable, probably 230, and then start pushing food. After that meal, me and Alyssa always goes and gets like a late night snack, just me and her. Normally we sneak off and get like some Greek yogurt or something like that. I love Greek yogurt, of course, with toppings and stuff on them. But actually, she was okay with just doing a cheesecake. So of course, we had our own room at the Platinum. So literally, we went in our room. Everybody was asleep. She had cheesecake, and I had a bowl of cereal, and we sat there and just stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I had a photo shoot that morning with Mr. Ulrich, who Ed Connor set up at 4:45. Had a shoot at like 9 o'clock with Iron Rebel outside. Then I had the photo shoot with NPC News for the pros at 11 o'clock. And then we went back to the Dragon's Lair and did another photo shoot at 12 o'clock. And then I had my next meal for brunch, which was a amazing breakfast, steak and eggs, some crazy pancakes. And then after that, I took Alyssa on a date to this nice Italian restaurant, which was freaking, I wish I remember the name of it, because I swear to you, the plate of steak was this big. It was a 45-ounce porterhouse steak. Wow. It was enough food, and she got a pot. Everything they serve is just big. So it's not like you can get a small plate. She got the red sauce pasta, whatever it's called Italian wise. We had enough food where I ate a good bit of the steak and a good bit of the pasta. And then I had enough steak to go home and basically prep like 3 or 4 meals for the next day, which would have been Monday. And that was it. That's all I ate.
Cool. All right. So we're gonna start wrapping it up here, but I got kind of a fun question, and then we'll kind of get into the future here. Okay. So right. Once you kind of got back on your phone, checking your DMs, all that type of stuff, what was kind of like, what were a couple of like the coolest or kind of caught you off guard that maybe this IFBB Pro or this person reached out to you to congratulate you? Can you share any of that with us?
Well, I think the coolest thing was when I came off stage Friday. It wasn't on Instagram. It was in person. Flex Lewis, I told you before, he's somebody that I look up to, and I seen him, and him to be there watching the show. I'm glad I put on a show. And I went up and shook his hand, and he was like, man, congratulations. And I was like, this was Prejudging. I was like, thank you. Like, it's speechless at first. I'm just excited to talk to him. I don't care about, at that point, I just was like, I wanted him to see me on stage and see how good I did. And he was like, man, you look great. He said, I'm all about structure and shape, and you have great structure, great shape. He said, the only thing you need to do is put a little bit more glaze on. He said, you look phenomenal up there. Keep it up. And then, like I said, my whole family's up there, and we had, everybody was wearing Mississippi Muscle shirts, which are basically our gym shirts. So literally the whole front row is like 15 people in Mississippi Muscle shirts. And he said, well, I guess this is your family supporting you or whatever. I said, yes, sir, it is. He said, well, man, go enjoy it. Soak your time up with your family. You deserve it. And I'll see you tonight. So that was probably the coolest thing that happened to me as far as congratulating me.
Love it, man.
But the DMs were just, dude, it was crazy.
Yeah. How many followers have you gained since you got your pro card on Instagram? Do you know?
I don't know about exactly how many. I know I'm right at 10,000, and I've been working on my social media a little bit more. I know last month I was at like 6,000, and now I'm almost at 10. So we're pushing 4,000 over the last month. and I'm going to keep on building it. You know, because this whole thing's about doing this podcast with you is just like building the brand, building my name. But I want people to know me. Like, I'm from Mississippi. Bodybuilding's not a big sport here. But I'm all about helping young kids. I'm all about helping people. Like, and I want people to know that. Like, I don't want them to think, oh, he's a bodybuilder, he wouldn't talk to me. Like, if anybody ever has a question, shoot me a DM or whatever. This is who I am. If you're watching this podcast, you know who I am. Know a little bit about me. If you watch the last podcast, you know. And it's just I'm as real as they get. I'm not your typical bodybuilder jerk off, I guess, that some of these guys can be. Like, I mean, I'm happy-go-lucky. I love talking to people. I'm a people person. So if you got any questions about bodybuilding or training or anything, or you want to hire me as your coach, shoot me a DM. I'd love to help anybody do anything I can. You know, this has just been an awesome experience, and I just love it. I mean, I love bodybuilding, and I love meeting people. You know, me and you've met on Instagram, and now I'm on your podcast. Like, it's what it's about. You know, it's all about meeting the right people and just enjoying life, you know, and that's just, when you can enjoy life doing something you love to do, I mean, it don't get no better than that.
Yeah. And it's greatly appreciated, Austin, for sure. It's a breath of fresh air. All right, to wrap things up, why don't you talk about what you and Matt have planned for the future in terms of when your pro debut is and whatever else you kind of want to touch on in regards to that.
Okay. So, yeah, like I said, man, we talked about it after prejudging Friday night. Me and him sat down and just chit-chatting it up. And he said, man, honestly, he said, I think you're just, you know, you're lean now, but like a shredded to the gills lean, like 215. He was like, I think we need to take off 18 months, which he knows I look up to Brett a lot. You know, I followed Brett from his whole journey, and he did the same process going from classic to 212 and taking almost 2 years off. And I'm not comparing myself to Brett by no means, but I would like to follow in the same footsteps as know where I'm at, know my place, and know where I got to get to. And Matt telling me that, I said, okay, no questions asked and buts about it. I'm not rushing this. You know, I'm 28 years old. I got plenty of time. I'm not the youngest, but I'm not old either. So if I got to take off 18 months, 2 years, or whatever it is, I'm good with it. And that's why when I got back home Monday, or was flying home Monday, like right back to prep it goes. Cause like this rebound phase is crucial. You know what I mean? To get back to put on as much muscle as I can right now in the next 8 or 12 weeks. And then we're just going to take it from there. Whatever Matt thinks we need to do, push an off season, or just kind of take a step back and let, you know, just get my blood work done. And just, you know, we're already, you know, we're not doing anything crazy drug related. We came off everything basically just to test. You don't, and that's something else people are like, man, you gotta keep pushing, you know, the gear or whatever in your rebound. You don't have to do that. Rely on food, but also listen to your coach as well too, you know. But yeah, man, the plan is just to run this rebound phase. We'll get 8 to 12 weeks, and we'll hit the next landmark and say, okay, where are we at now? What do you want to do? And like I said, man, I'm here. I'm a coachable dude. Whatever Matt says, I'm gonna do, and we'll just keep going from there to get better.
Perfect, man. What are some words that maybe you want to share with maybe some people that are just getting into bodybuilding, some people that are maybe on the chase for that IFBB Pro Card like you just were and accomplished that pro status? Like, what are some words that maybe you want to share that maybe you wish that you kind of knew in the past that you kind of know now?
Take your time. Take your time. And I know everybody says that, but seriously, you got to take your time. Food's the most important thing. If you're not eating 5 to 6 meals a day with a shake or whatever, however your coach has you lined up, and you're training and the gym's not your effort in the gym. You know, you can train balls to wall, but it's the effort, the execution, and how long are you actually spending in the gym. You don't have to spend 2 hours in the gym. You know, take those sets and reps, 6 to 8, 10 sets total per exercise or per muscle group, I mean, and take them to complete failure with perfect form. But before you do all that, your nutrition and your health has to be perfect. That is number one. If you can do that, people are like, oh, I can't gain weight. I can't gain. Well, how many times are you eating a day? Well, 3 or 4. Well, you're not eating enough. If you're not eating 6 meals a day, at least 5. If you're not eating 5 to 6, even 7, then you're already shooting yourself in the foot. So what I tell people is worry about your nutrition, your health first. And when I say health, I'm saying go get your blood work done. if you're a young bodybuilder, there's no reason for you to be touching any type of drugs. Go get your blood work done just to see where you're at as far as blood work. You know, if you're 18, 20, whatever, you know, it's just good to have that as a base to know where you're at that point. But going forward, you need to make sure you have a right coach who can put you in the right direction, because there's so many people. I was just talking to a client today that they don't think about food, they think about drugs, and they want to push that before they put, and that is the stupidest thing that I don't understand it. Drugs have nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? It's all about the food, and it's all about the training. All that other stuff can come later. See what your body can do with 6 or 7 meals and a full-fledged training regimen that is built for you and what you do and what you want to do. And that's what I mean by take your time. Find out what works for you. Find out what your body digests when it comes to food. Find out if you're allergic to them. You can buy an allergy test, which I just ordered one, just to see where you're at gut-wise. When it comes to training, I think 5 days is plenty for an off season. Get into prep. Yeah, you can train 6 days. I train 5 days a week right now, and probably will continue that all the way through my off season. You got to have rest and recovery. So I think that's about it, man. If you can follow that, you know, wherever you're at in life, and it could be lifestyle too. Like, you know, as far as you're just trying to change your life, maybe it's not competing. I know this is more of a bodybuilding podcast, but there's going to be people, you know, watching us all over. Even if you're in that lifestyle change where you just want to change your lifestyle, it's still those same things that you have to do. It's still, you need to train hard and heavy. You still need to stick to a diet. You have to do cardio to stay healthy and lose fat. So all those things will apply to anybody that wants to turn their life around as far as lifestyle, or if they're getting ready for a show, or if they're trying to earn their pro card, or whatever they're trying to do. So, and if, like I said, if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. You know, I'll be more happy to help anybody that I can.
Wise words, man. All right, we're going to wrap it up right there, Austin.
Thank you, buddy.
Why don't you give us your Instagram handle, any other shout outs, sponsors, platforms yours. I'll do a quick outro and that'll be a wrap.
All right. Well, my Instagram is Austin_Connelly, and I am sponsored by Iron Rebel. If you want any gym clothes, Iron Rebel's been dropping a lot of stuff: gym bags, gym gear, clothes, hats. Get on there. You can use my pro code ACON10. That's ACONN 10. Y'all want to do that? If you got any questions about the clothes or sizes or anything like that, just let me know. Like I said, I'll help you in any way I can. And also, if you're in Mississippi, or if you come close to Mississippi, come check out Mississippi Muscle. It's a 10,000 square foot building, smoothie, loaded tees, a badass posing room, and full of arsenal equipment. And if you want to know where that is, it's in Pascagoula, Mississippi. So if you're close, come check us out. I'll even give you a free day pass.
Very cool, man. And I second that on Iron Rebel. I got an Iron Rebel shirt on right now. I've got like 4 or 5 of them. It's awesome. Awesome clothes, awesome company, awesome brand. So Austin, this is our second time. At some point, we'll get you on for a 3rd round, man. I really appreciate your time. And it's exciting to see. It's going to be exciting to see what the future holds for you. Okay.
That's right. Thank you so much for having me on. We'll talk soon.
You're welcome. All of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, thank you so very much. I appreciate all of you. If it wasn't for all of you, the podcast would not exist. So as we close up this awesome conversation with the newly crowned IFBB Pro, Austin Connelly, 2 quick things. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Super important, because I release all of these episodes first on YouTube, and then I'll distribute them to iTunes, CastBox, and some of the other major podcast platforms. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Also, as I mentioned during the conversation with Austin, he's got a YouTube channel. It's his first and his last name. He's got some content on there in terms of leading up to USA's. Make sure you guys go support him. Go to Austin Connelly on YouTube. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Like he said, he's going to be focusing on that a little bit more. So make sure you guys support him. Make sure you give Austin a follow on Instagram as well, along with Behind the Muscle. And then finally, one last quick favor I have to ask of all of you. Make sure you take this episode of Austin's, share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Austin, tag Behind the Muscle, so that we know you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it. That's also a great way for new listeners just more people to find the podcast, listen, and be positively impacted, which that's really my heart's desire, is that people would be positively impacted through this podcast, through the stories of the great coaches, great athletes that are on here. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.